to order. We will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I am Mary Ann Burr, Commissioner for District 1.
And John Machazzi, Port Commissioner for District 2 is here.
Martin Vanderpass, Sport Commissioner for District 3.
All right, we have the agenda in front of us. Does anyone have any changes?
No,
I didn't.
No.
All right, we will move on to the public comment. This time is set aside for members of the public to speak to the board regarding subjects of concern, interest, or items on the agenda. The board will take all information under advisement, but generally will not take any action unless it is emergent in nature. To ensure your comments are recorded, please state your name and city of residence. Please limit comments to 5 minutes. If you have any documents to present to the board, please email them to the board executive director. Thank you.
anybody on Zoom would like to make a public comment? Please unmute yourself or raise your hand. Going once. Going twice. There's no public comment.
All right, now our next item is the approval of vouchers. We have the vouchers for today, the 5/22/24 meeting. We have vendor payments number 24-0503 through 24-0551. We have payroll, which is EFT. Oh, I'm sorry, the total vouchers that I finished with 24-0551 are a total vouchers of $21,153.67. The next session is the payroll direct deposit EFT 0505 in the total payroll amount of $16,715.73. And then there are electronic vouchers to the Internal Revenue Service EFT 0506 in the amount of $4,461.64 for a grand total vouchers today of $42,331.04.
I make a motion to approve that voucher approval document dated May 22nd, 2024.
I'll second that.
Is there any discussion? There being no discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor of approval, say aye. Aye. It is unanimous approval. And we will sign the document. And now we have the financial update over to Dawn. We had a bunch of different documents sent to us for our review.
Oh, hello. I think this is the most significant change you've seen in the financials since the beginning of the year. There was quite a bit of property tax that was deposited into our funds for both the IDD and the general maintenance fund 653. So right now we have $847,511 in our IDD funds. 547, a little over 546,000 of that was deposited in April with property tax collection. We still have the 1,139,000 in the IDD investment funds savings. And the general maintenance fund, we have $651,161.74. And let's see, how much of that was just deposited? 173,000, a little over 173,000 was deposited in April from the property tax collection. That's about it for the balance sheet and the check registers. So we had, as of today, I believe we were at 49% in collection of the property taxes. Let's see here, I'm gonna go to our. Make this bigger. And on our first of the month meeting, when I was trying to do the financials, I kept on thinking April when I said we should be at 33%, and Chris kept on saying, no, 25%. And I was thinking April, not March, when I was giving you the report. So I was like, oh, I looked at it after we got off of our meeting. I was like, oh, whoops, wrong month. But anyway, so we're at 48% of the property tax collection, and I believe about 47% with the IDD property tax collection. So we're right on schedule as far as what we have coming through. And looking at our records, all of our rental collections are at 33%. Some of them are broken out a little bit because we have old tenants and new tenant line items, but when you combine them, they are in line with the budget. Other than that, we have quite a bit of expenses going through for the fuel tank. And it should be almost all done, if not done. The only thing left to pay on that, I believe, is the retainage. Then we have to wait for the state for the notice of completion reports to be approved before we can release those funds. And last time it took almost 6 months before I could get the roofing construction company their retainage. So it just depends on the state for the most part on when I get the letters. There's letters from notice of completion letters and notices from 4 different entities. And I have to have all 4 of them before I can release that. Does anybody have any questions?
Yes, I have a question on the third attachment, the current month profit and loss by class for April.
Yeah.
On the third page, employee compensation, the one part I don't understand is the routine maintenance total was $1,519. And the facilities maintenance technician was paid $8,350. I don't, what happened there? What
The facilities maintenance is 2 employees.
Actually, 3 if you count Shelley, but
3. Yeah, well, we have, yeah. It's 3 employees or 2 employees for the facilities maintenance. And then the maintenance groundkeeper is 1 employee.
yeah.
So I'm confused about the fact that the document shows that the routine maintenance was at Greenbank Farm for $1,519, but that wasn't the labor part, that was that parts or what?
So
was
where
that?
is the routine maintenance coming up
Uh,
from?
The page right at the top.
Oh, you're talking about
R&M.
okay, you're talking about, that's
Yeah,
supplies
on the
and
screen.
yeah, that has nothing to do with employees. That has to do with material bought.
Okay, so those materials were bought. And
Don, you want to share that
nothing
on
was
screen?
spent there at the Greenbank Farm for labor. The labor is all under Port of Coupeville. I'm just trying to put it together.
Okay, well, the actually the facilities maintenance technicians are for all three entities, the port, the farm, and the wharf. So unless they were gonna take their timesheet and allocate a half hour here and a half hour there, every time, that there's no way for us to break it out exactly.
And just so
So,
you know, I used to do that, but Donna Carter did not like doing that. Cause I wanted to know what my cost allocations were between the properties. But, and I begged for that for a while. But she
so
just-
they keep a timesheet?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, they keep a timesheet,
Yeah.
but they don't indicate where they did the work.
They don't indicate where their labor was pointed. That is correct. Now, it'll be in the notes section to the right, but as far as allocating dollars, we don't do that.
Well, it jumped out to me, of course, looking at the list, that $8,000 was a lot more than any other employee compensation. And there's no indication on here that it says groundkeeper, singular. So of course I was wondering who this was making all that money.
Yeah,
Is there another way to show this that makes it more clear?
That it's multiple people, to make it clear that it's more than one person.
I could put an S
Yeah,
on the end
that,
of technician.
an S would help on
Which
groundkeeper.
line are you looking at? Cause I don't have this form in front of me.
hey,
It's,
Don, you wanna share your screen, Don? Just
yeah,
to throw it up there.
This is this is the screen.
Okay.
Hey, just for April.
Sorry, Don will have it up in a second, John. There you go.
Okay. And which,
Okay, can
which
you
line
see-
are you?
I'm on here, 8,003. He's the.
8,350.41.
Do you have any idea, Chris, what the work was done that added up to that many hours in 1 month? I'm just curious.
It is right here. Look at the screen.
She pulled up.
Okay, oh,
You're talking about an entire month's worth of labor between two people.
uh-huh. What kind of things do they do?
Well, you pull in and see that all four of these overhangs on Barn C are being
Uh-huh.
completely rebuilt in-house. That's one. Installing new doors at the Coupeville Wharf, big heavy metal
Well,
doors.
that would be big.
oh, yeah,
They're all
that
just-
helps. They're not
Okay,
only they're not only doing the CNR, the CRNM, they're also
That whole
helping
project.
with a lot of the
Right.
cost in regards to the IDD project, so.
Okay,
That's,
so then my other question is any of the work that they do paid by the IDD funds, or is it all general?
No, we will charge labor to the IDD fund when the capital improvement project hits the $5,000 mark. So a capital improvement project has to be $5,000 or more to be withdrawn from the IDD account.
And that includes labor and materials?
Yes, it does, and tools.
Yeah.
So one of the things we
And
look at
tools.
is, in doing these overhangs, it's a 5,000 plus project. And
Okay,
we're building them better than they were before, so it qualifies as a capital
right,
improvement project.
but since this $8,000 employee payment was to 3 different people, you didn't reach the level
No,
to have it paid by
it
IDD.
involves, it involves
everything.
me. Yeah, it involves me having, and the journal entries that have to be made at the end of the year when I do the annual report involve me having to take employee timesheets and making a calculation and a spreadsheet and separating out IDD and regular hours and then doing journal entries. That's what it takes. It's not
No.
easy.
No, Mary's the one that will actually every 2 weeks in a pay period, code her labor hours between POC and IDD.
Yeah.
So what we have to do with the facilities maintenance, because most of their stuff is CRNM. Like for the overhang project, Paul will be coding all his hours when he works on that to the IDD.
Okay,
Yes.
so just to refresh me, of the 4 attachments we received, does any of them separate charges between general and IDD in the list? Are there separate lists to show where the money comes from to pay for those expenses? Or is it in a
They-
single list? Like, I understand that the Island County, the way all these bookkeeping things get done, things are put together. I'm just wondering, is there a page somewhere that separates expenses taken from general funds and expenses paid by IDD funds?
I'll leave that one up to you, Don.
Well, the expenses paid by IDD funds are in the P and L under the IDD section. Now,
Okay, so-
there are items that we haven't captured, that I recognized, I think it was when we started doing the overhangs. As going through all of the charges at Home Depot and I think it was Ace, and I was like, I need to have, I'm gonna be scanning these statements back to Murray and Mary, and they're gonna be needing to go through them and label them what project they are, so that I can, and then in turn, apply them to the IDD fund.
Yeah.
And that's,
So we need to get better at the staff level of managing these projects, so they're coded correctly in the beginning. Because we have multiple projects going all over
I
the place.
realize that.
And you're talking about facilities maintenance guys, I'm not being negative, but they're not exactly, their strong suit is not administrative. Right? So that's where Mary and Murray need to closer manage that and have that coded. Mary will code her hours right up front, but when we get those receipts once a month, they need to sit down and go through them.
Thank you.
We're capturing the bigger line items, but we're not capturing all the little receipts that happen all month long. And that's what we
Agreed.
need to backtrack on. So,
Agreed.
So Dawn, is it true then that some of this 8350 for facilities maintenance technicians may end up, after this reallocation and figuring out which projects the hours were for, some of that may end up shifting to IDD capital projects later in the year
Yeah.
when you
Yeah,
it's,
we'll allocate that labor, we'll pay for it. We'll allocate the funds back into the IDD.
Ah,
so.
Yeah.
look at the
but
end of-
what I understand though is that there's only one IDD project that I am aware of this year that has to do with Paul's hours, strictly Paul, because I believe Paul is the one that's doing all the overhang work.
Yeah, Paul's labor for that project, the overhang will be IDD. Jeff's part of his labor, which we need to code, is going to be for the envelope repairs, because those doors are considered part of the envelope repair.
Yeah.
And that's
so
a
there's-
major IDD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
if we
okay,
look at this
so
at the
two
end of the
projects.
year, So if we were to look at the end of the year report, after all this work has been done, this, the month of April may change how these numbers are, right? Is that true? Or would this stay? the same?
Actually, it'll be a journal entry that I make at the end of the year.
So the
Yeah.
IDD.
second.
I'll have to do a spreadsheet of all the different hours each month for projects and then do a journal entry. It's just easier that way to do one journal entry at the end of the year after formulating a spreadsheet of what projects what hours had to do with what projects.
Yeah, we looked into an app that would look at time card. And we just never finished that project. We never,
So all the people could allocate
With
which
the-
project they're
yeah.
working on.
because we give them a cell phone stipend except for Sean. Because she just does not use her cell phone. But the other two do. So we thought about doing an app for that, but we just never really found one. that we wanted to endorse.
It's hard for me to keep track of how we're doing when everything's in one basket. And it doesn't get sorted until the end. You can't have made a judgment.
Yeah.
You have to make your judgments as they come along. But
Well, you have your budget versus actual. That's what the board
Yeah,
should be
you do.
looking at, right?
yes, but when it's not separated.
Right,
it's
you guys.
tricky.
Well,
that.
you're looking at two projects out of
Yeah.
a whole year's worth
Yeah.
of salary. So
This
it's
is
not
my
even
example.
comparable.
This one is an example for me. I understand we're only talking about one thing,
Yeah.
but if it happens once, I know it may be hidden in here other places that, but knowing that it will get sorted at some point,
Yeah,
sooner the better,
and it sounds like,
it's reassuring.
Dawn and Chris and the staff are trying to improve these processes.
Yeah, I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased that it's on everybody's radar.
So the confusion you were having earlier about, one person getting the 8,000. would that be better solved by having facilities and maintenance staff, senior facilities and maintenance staff?
1, 2, and 3, why
Yeah.
couldn't
Yeah,
they be separate?
Yeah,
Oh, I
just
think that it
have a
would,
little bit
I don't think that creating
Detail.
additional line items would be
Yeah.
necessary, but I think that if we just put technicians and everybody knows our staffing is so small, it's not like we have a huge staff, there's 2 maintenance guys.
but the
Um,
other staff members are individually
listed,
listed.
yeah.
Well, that's
Yeah.
because
And I got
that's
two.
because there's only one of them though, except for the dock hands, there's multiple dock hands.
Why is it so hard to have number 1, number 2, and number 3? Why is that difficult? I don't
It's
understand.
not difficult. You're just adding more line items. You're making a report bigger and bigger and bigger and more detailed, when the board really should be looking at the budget to actuals per month and per quarter. And let Don and I manage the individual transactions. If we're 10% over budget, we need to account for that. We need to answer to you.
How about the situation where a taxpayer says, I want to stop by and look at your financials?
Sure, these are the financials we offer. We put our budget
And they go,
longhand
you're
and,
paying somebody $8,000 to do maintenance?
we just
There's
changed
a-
it. That's a 3. We just changed it from dock hand to dock hands and facilities maintenance technician to technicians, so.
Put the numbers on it, so it's clear that it's a quote. Group.
Like parentheses, 2
Multiple.
or something like that, or 3.
Well,
that
they're-
could change Time to time. That could change. We might have 3 facilities people next month
True.
or 4 next month, you know.
It's tricky because people accuse books of being manipulated to make it look different.
And for example, like maybe one of the guys is on vacation for 3 weeks. And the other guy has to pick up the slack or, you know, like it could, the details of who's doing the work aren't necessarily.
Consistent.
Yeah, and if we see a change in this and we're like, oh, explain to me why this is different. And they're like, well, that guy was on vacation. Like, do we need to know that?
No, we
Is that
don't
most
need
board
li- and most-
responsibility
And
to
most
manage
likely
the
he's
staff?
gonna be paid vacation anyway.
Okay,
I
Yeah.
think the S on technicians satisfies me.
okay, me too.
And it's not that we're managing the staff, but we're being held accountable by the taxpayers.
Yeah,
Right, and when it says technicians, that's a logical question from the public. Well, how many do you have? Or what do they do? Because it's plural.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to drill down, then I say email to, because even I would not be able to answer that
it's
question.
exactly right.
Yeah.
And the ventures document has
There.
individual names and the paychecks, right?
That's exactly right. If
So,
you really want to drill down, it's right there.
so we're pretty clever on some of the names. So I used to think of, when I originally got involved, we had like an executive assistant. And that would be Murray, right? But there's no executive assistant listed.
Right, because those duties
Or-
expanded, so we changed it to community administrative specialist.
Hmm.
Because she does the
Yeah.
event, she works with the
Mhm.
community, she helps
Gotcha.
staff,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
And then Mary's role is project manager.
They got 2 wharf managers. One is an assistant, one is, the wharf manager. So who's the assistant?
So that was when we had, what was his name, I forgot his name, no, that's me.
Shoot.
It was Bill.
Well, it's not good.
Bill?
No,
Brad? Was it Brad?
no, it was that guy that we hired on specifically to be an assistant wharf manager, because Bill was part-time. And we had to separate our ways. So that's why you don't see a lot of labor sitting there.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's, and a lot of these entries too, these line items, even though we may not have amounts associated with them. Don, maybe you can explain this a little more detail. They have to stay on there for at least another year.
Oh,
Before
sure.
we delete them out.
I understand.
So that's why
that.
you're seeing different things, but
Okay.
what's his name?
Thank you.
Colton,
Mhm.
thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so where are we at?
Are we, any more questions about any of those documents on the financial update section.
Well, actually, I have a financial question. The Penn Cove Water District thing that they park next to our mooring dock, where does that revenue show up?
Penco Water District.
You know, that little platform that they tie on to our
Oh, you mean the rolling hills? That's just a community.
rolling hill.
Yeah, rolling hills. So that goes into the wharfs. Revenue stream, and so
It's only part of the year.
it is, it's, they bring it in like October and they pull it out in May. In fact, they just took it out last week.
Okay, so I just, just wanted them to be aware that there's a little revenue stream, and I'm not even sure it shows up on here, does it?
Is it
shows
part of
up
the
in
harbor
mortgage.
master? Yeah,
Mortgage.
mortgage.
Yeah, it shows up on a mortgage, yeah, but it's
Under
not a
mortgage?
separate, it's not a separate
Okay,
mortgage
Yeah.
and GA, yeah.
Mortgage is
Okay.
just an
Oh,
entry for the,
certainly.
yeah. The mortgage is recorded by month by the harbor master report.
okay.
All right, shall we move on to old business? We have 8.1, resolution 309, which we have been sent. Are there any questions concerning this? Is the resolution which rescinds all the resolutions regarding the bylaws and adopts our rules of procedure. Any questions? We've talked about this for several meetings.
I make a motion that we approve resolution 309 to rescind previous bylaw.
And adopt the rules of procedure.
And does that include that? Okay.
Yeah,
And, because that seems to be like a different form, so we ought to do a different vote on that, shouldn't we?
I think it's
Attached,
this would be attached to the
it's
resolution.
actually written in the resolution, but that's,
So they do go together?
yes, sir.
Okay, just want to make sure.
One document.
So, let me start over. I make a motion that we approve resolution 309 that will rescind previous bylaws and adopt the rules of procedure.
Perfect.
I'll second that.
Okay,
All right, is there any further discussion?
I think the only discussion would be is we really have worked this one over pretty hard.
Yeah, we did.
You know, we didn't move too fast.
No, we did not.
That's good.
Oh, All right, call for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, it's a unanimous approval.
While they're signing that, Dawn, I emailed you the AP report signed.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.
I appreciate it. I
Yeah,
can
you
start
bet.
working on that.
Okay.
You?
All right, we're moving to 8.2, which is listed as an action item. Per diem meeting approvals. I put it over to whoever would like to bring that up again.
I kind of thought you wanted to go over, all of the meetings that we would like to approve, for our commissioners to attend and charge to the port as a per diem.
I did some research on this. I haven't gotten all the answers back yet. I emailed the directors of the port districts that are near us to ask them if there was a list. And in general, I got three
A
answers.
list of what?
A list of activities that were considered service to the port or duties, which are the terms used in the law that are payable by per diem.
If they're.
It asked what their commissioners were if they had a list or how they dealt with
Okay.
per diems according to the service to the port and duties, which are in the RCW. I got 3 answers back, Scadit and, South Whidbey and I believe Friday Harbor. And they didn't have a list. They dealt with it as things arose. And that's the way they handled it. They didn't pre-approve
Hmm.
any of the meetings. That's just the way they do it. I mean, we can do it any way we want,
Mhm.
but,
So it sounds like a lot of latitude by port.
as long as it's service to the port. And
Right,
the duty, it has to benefit the port as a whole.
The other commissioners have to
Have
ultimately,
to approve it.
either in advance or after the fact.
Right.
Yes, after the fact tends to be difficult because of the process for payment.
Hmm.
As you may have seen, you submit your activity list
Yeah.
and the process continues until it's time to approve it. And
But
it's approved as part of a payroll list.
so the other 3 ports that you talked to, did they approve it in advance or after the fact?
You know, it was like pulling hair. They
They must really have a system.
It's very hard to get answers, so they were not specific.
Do you have like a proposal of how you think we should do it based on your research?
I am skeptical of the number of times that a commissioner's activity benefits the whole port unless it is something that the things come up as the years go by. Opportunities come up and difficulties come up. And I don't think I could possibly approve something in advance unless we were to change our meeting date and it became apparent that the COG meeting could be on the list if it happened, didn't conflict with our own meeting.
So having attended COG today. And there's always potential that, whoever's assigned to COG,
Yes,
they could go to it, but not come to a board meeting.
well, then,
For who, a
Mm.
medical emergency, family
Mhm.
emergency, you name it.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, COG needs to be an assigned meeting to attend for per diem.
that's right, but you can't get 2 in one day, so a person could attend 2 in one day, knowing that they would only be the per diem once.
Yeah, John
But I
said
just gave you a
3 of them.
situation that if I hadn't shown up today for whatever reason,
Yeah,
car wouldn't start,
yeah,
wife had an emergency, I had a medical
Yeah.
emergency.
Yeah.
My per diem would be for COG
yeah. Yeah, yeah. Of course.
as an assigned
Hmm,
before the event, pre-approved meeting.
right, that could happen, as long as you realize, of course, that would be the one payment. Because, wow, that makes a lot of sense.
So what problem are we solving
I
here?
don't know, do you have a proposal for how we should do this moving forward? Or,
Well, I did, but John's thrown
I
this,
haven't heard it.
I believe that, I haven't formulated it yet, because I have new information.
Okay, do you want, should we table
And-
this to the next
and-
meeting? Or- I don't understand what's happening.
And then the other one is the broadband meetings.
Yeah.
Which have been, taking up a lot of my life,
Yeah,
and knowing that there's certain ones that, have, potential to be more value.
Mhm.
Other ones are just strictly like, in case something's showing up that, Chris doesn't know about, nobody knows about, but it's like, we can go back and ask for more money from Public Works Board.
Yeah,
things like that.
I would trust your judgment as the person who's been going to those of whether you think they're.
But I can't
valuable to the board
guarantee
or not.
each meeting is gonna be a, little pot of gold of information.
Sure.
Well, I do have a comment on that. Now that we are paid a salary, it's the equivalent of more than 2 per diems. And couldn't it be considered that if a person is being paid a salary, some of these meetings that are not 100% guaranteed wonderful, but sometimes good things come up, that we could think that that's part of a commissioner's job, if he is that interested in following broadband, that would be a benefit to not only him, but to the port, and the port is paying him a salary.
I think. that
But
would be up to
meanwhile,
the
you don't go
commissioner
to any
to-
meetings.
Well, I think it's up to the
Same
board.
salary.
I think it's up to the board to
I
decide.
think if you're eligible for a per diem for work that you did, it's up to you if you wanna claim it or not.
Well,
Similar, you can decline the salary.
right, however, when I asked John to tell us about the last meeting, he said he couldn't.
Remember that?
Yes, he has
Which
copious notes, but it's too complex to share with the board. I'm saying that if it's a benefit, a clear benefit to the port, a commissioner who is being paid a salary, who has done extra things that definitely benefit the port, that he can report on to the other commissioners to help us make decisions, then I say it's worth it per diem. But if it's just to go to meetings all the time, I think the person being benefited is that commissioner,
And
and not
I semi,
necessarily the port.
and I semi agree with you, in more than semi. The difficulty is when you have like a 1 hour, 2 hour meeting put on like Washington State Broadband Office. And they're just carrying on about a lot of different issues about funding, particularly. It's hard to do a report on that. And that's, so that's kind of so what I'm sitting here kind of brainstorming, is there a way to say, I want to claim a per diem for this meeting and, try to, have some kind of report that, because normally, I've shown, some of the examples of some of the notes, I take
Mhm.
copious notes.
I know. I've
You know.
seen the Bible.
Yeah, and so it's sort of I don't want to necessarily rewrite those, and my
No, of
notes,
course not.
might be, illegible to the two of you or anybody, because they're, taken, as fast as, I can write things in. So the challenge for me might be, or that we contain the per diems, is to say that, you have, say, 2 per diems a month on top of the port meetings that we collected per diem, right?
Mhm.
And assigned meetings, then you have 2 meetings a month as long as you provide a written report. Would that help?
Oh, you mean in addition to the port meetings?
Right,
So you can only claim a per diem if you give a report at the commission.
At the commissioner meeting,
Is that what you're
Well-
suggesting?
I'm not sure timing wise when you want to do it,
Well,
with attached to the car report, maybe.
well, I
Let
think
me
the
put
point is that we hear,
We used to do that on our agenda. We used to have commissioner reports. Remember that?
I remember that, but not with pleasure.
Right, same here.
I
Because
mean, we
it's
could keep
just,
it brief, if you could just say there wasn't much to report this month.
that'd be a report.
Is that worth $161?
Well, you won't know until you go to the meeting.
Yeah,
right?
I can't guarantee this meeting was gonna happen.
Well, Martin, how do you interpret the salary issue?
I think that's, I think the salary is something that the state legislature has put in place for ports that earn more than $1 million
Yes.
in gross revenue.
Mm-hmm.
That's That's what I think. What do you mean?
You don't feel any, you don't feel that it is meant to encourage commissioners to do some of these outside things that enhance their ability to make
Yeah.
decisions.
No, I think it's meant to
We
encourage.
do outside, we review the AP voucher list, you know, we can, you know, there's things we do prior to this meeting.
I've been doing lots of work.
Hmm. Well, I personally feel that I have always worked a lot on research and reading the documents that are sent both by the,
For the water district.
no, for the Port District. And the Water District, but I have always felt that it was important for me to stay abreast of what was going on. So I spend hours at home on port issues all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't, those are, to me, are not worth per diem. That's part of my job as being a commissioner, is to stay on top of
And that's
things.
the salary part.
Well, it is now. It didn't used to be, but it is now.
Yeah,
So,
If I gotta drive somewhere, sit in a meeting like a cog, not gonna come to the port meetings, let's
Mhm.
exclude that. You know, that's a different scenario where you're actively involved, listening to what's happening at that meeting.
I am a person who is always looking at the dollars and trying to maximize the benefit. And I can see a lot of things about the Port of Coupeville that need improvement dollar wise, such as staff compensation. Here we have just got a huge percentage increase between the per diem increase and now the salary. When I compare that increase over 2023 to what we are paying our dedicated staff that has turned this port around, it isn't the commissioners who did it, it's the staff who are dedicated and who, in my opinion, based on overall research of payment for that kind of work, these people are talented, and if they weren't so attached to the port, I suspect with the tough labor market now, they could find employment otherwise for a more happy amount of payment.
yeah.
Port
So
is underpaying its employees. And that bothers me, that tuning into a Zoom meeting would cost the port $161 in per diem pay. It just bothers me. It's personal. I understand that.
So we're talking about per diem, not staff compensation.
You're
I
trying to do
understand,
that.
but it's what I compare it to. I am allowed to make comparisons. And as a person whose payment is listed on the payroll list against all the people who are employees, I am concerned that if the port commissioners are so concerned about paying ourselves and forgetting that remember the pie charts I gave?
Yes.
You remember? I remember. This port is in trouble when the IDD finishes. Right now, a lot of the important work that is making this port turn around and become something that people can be proud of, it's because of the employees and their dedication. The events that we're having here, the turnaround at the wharf as far as how it's being run. I've been here a long time and I think you don't know how bad it used to be.
You really
It's
haven't been.
terrible.
You haven't been here a long time as a
But
commissioner.
I think we both agree. I think we agree
Okay,
that the staff is
so-
doing a great job. What does this have to do with the per diem meeting approvals?
Dollars. Financial stability.
So what are you
That's what-
suggesting?
Hmm?
Do you have a proposal to make or?
I believe that the per diem should be approved in advance.
Okay. Now we're getting somewhere.
Yeah, okay,
Per
and
diems
that's what's
per
been
meeting?
happening.
Yeah, for which meetings?
I thought that's what this was about, was coming up with a list of approved meetings.
Okay.
Do you
I-
want to do that?
At the last meeting, I stated I wanted the opportunity to go back to what I approved in January. I approved for Commissioner Masashek to go to all the broadband meetings, and I want to get out of that. Because that was approval for a time period. I want it approved at the meeting. I got trapped into that because I didn't understand how many different meetings there were.
Well, how would you like it to be? Like, what's your ideal scenario here? I just wanna know.
What is my idea for?
Your ideal scenario? How would you like this to be approved? Like every quarter we go through the meetings or?
Well, you've got good ideas. Why don't you share them? You've got more ideas about that than I do.
I'm not as concerned.
You just want everybody to put down anything, and as long as somebody else agrees, they get $161.
I mean,
Yeah, I mean.
no. I think if anybody put down anything, you're not gonna get anybody to agree to it.
Oh, you'd be surprised.
I don't think you'd agree to it, and I wouldn't agree to it, so then there's nobody.
And I've already made the suggestion of continuing to do reports and I've got notes. You know, that I would be willing to sit down and spend more of my time going through my notes and saying, you know, here's something more important than the other 3 pages of notes I took. So you don't have to read through 3 pages of notes.
Yeah, you
That
could
I-
summarize your
I could
notes.
summarize it.
That I would
You know,
expect that you
they
wouldn't
used
just
to
read.
do that with the COG report,
Yeah,
you know, and it'd be like a summary that's like, you know, a lot more was discussed, you know. But, you know, there was a little bit of, you know, bias or high notes, you know, but no real meat to the bone. But sometimes meetings don't have a lot of meat on the bone.
yeah, I would like to hear what happened at the COG meeting that was relevant, that you thought was relevant to the court, the Coupeville, and I would like to hear what happened to IRTPO. I don't want me to go hear all your notes. I
Yeah,
want you to summarize what was important to bring to what was important to the Port of Coupeville.
yeah.
And yeah, I think that I would like those to.
I would like that too.
regularly.
I would like that too.
I mean, look at my notes on IRTPO where it was an intense meeting
Yeah,
and it was just like, you know, little stars, like, oh, that's damn
and
important.
it's gonna be some work for you to come up with what, was relevant.
It's my job to come up, why can't other people come up with a proposal and we talk about a variety of proposals? Why are you making it my job?
Well,
I don't understand that. You said you have ideas and you have ideas. Why don't we have actual proposals to consider? Because I'm not sure what I want right now with
Okay.
all the good ideas coming up.
yeah,
Okay.
I shouldn't be the one that tries to put your 2 good ideas together.
like, and just so what you're hearing from me, I want desperately to back off on the broadband meetings, the quantity of them.
Uh-huh.
Okay, because they are just, you know, like every time I turn around, it feels like there's, you know, my week has got to focus around. Don't schedule any patients to take care of, you know, because
Yeah.
things like that.
Are you
Right.
feeling like some of them are becoming less important or relevant to the board?
Here, well, yes, what I'm finally discovering on some of them is that because some ports are just going, oh, we need to get into the broadband business. We're way past that,
Yeah,
right? So the conversation level is like, come on, port. I mean, you know, this has been going on for like a couple of years now, and you're just kind of going, oh, we need to be in the broadband business. So those discussions are like, you know, there's not real lot of meat on that bone.
Mhm.
But you don't know until you attend it and listen through the whole 2 damn hours.
Well,
That's the problem.
Could you, each commissioners come up with your list of meetings, USDA, PWB, WIPA, COG, RTPO, come up with your list that you attend or you want to attend and bring it to the next meeting. You guys talk and vote.
And I think, you know, like, you know,
I thought that was
commissioner,
what,
I thought that's what it was.
commissioner educational workshop meetings, we're still a long way from drilling down on the things that are covered, like it's the small ports meeting
Yeah,
that you and I have been to.
those are
I
great.
mean, some of those meetings are real intense about, didn't know that.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
those are great
So
things.
it's almost like you gotta self-train because, you know, dad spent a ton of money going to, where was the last meeting? Way to hell out there. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And, so we need to find ways to self-educate and catch up on issues that affect ports. So,
I guess when you say that affect ports, I want to say that affect this port,
we're a port.
which is, I know. The ports that you have visited have such strong financial foundations that they have been able to do a lot of things that are a real stretch and maybe not even possible for this port, which has not built a foundation of finances yet.
So I have a proposal
Oh.
about, well, I think what we were originally intending to do, or what I thought this action item was going to be, was to go through John's list of meetings that he attends, because I don't think either of us have
I
any
don't
regular
attend extra
meetings
meetings.
that we're currently attending. I may in the future come up with meetings that I want to regularly attend. But we could go through this list either today or at the next meeting. I'm inclined to just do it now, it's on the agenda,
Uh-huh.
and decide if the commission wants to continue to allow John to go to these meetings and claim per diems.
Yeah.
Is that okay with everybody?
What is the list?
We haven't, I
Oh.
haven't seen
Can
it. What John would present that,
Well, we already saw it
I've
basically
seen
by
it.
seeing the
The car,
car report. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the Island County Broadband Action Team meeting,
See, that's what I thought I was approving, was just that one I didn't know about all the other ones.
yeah, that's one. How
Back
many
in
times a
January.
month do they
you
meet?
gotta pay attention during these meetings.
You use initials and I
How
don't know
many
what you're talking
times?
about.
Let's go through, it. How many times a month does that meet?
it's once a quarter, unless something
Quarter,
really
yeah.
big is coming up.
Quarterly.
It's called a BAT,
Okay.
BAT.
That sounds reasonable.
Dog.
Island County back.
Well, COG is like gonna be the same day unless I don't show up for this meeting.
Well, we'll put it on the
Still.
list.
And it's an improved meeting.
Yeah, COG's important about the relationships. Right?
Yes.
I would say, yeah, because,
Very
I got to second some meetings today that the county commissioner was glad to get that second.
I'm telling you, COG's necessary.
We have a seated conference.
We do, we have a
Yes.
voting seat.
That makes sense.
Our TPO,
IRTPO. Also.
What's that stand for?
Island Regional
Transportation.
Transportation Planning Organization.
Okay, why is the port involved in that?
well,
Just tell me.
let's get a list down for, and you guys can go through them. How about that?
That seems good. Let's list them all first.
Oh, okay, then we'll go through.
One step at a time,
And that, the IRTPO is also the same day as this.
right after the COG.
Yeah.
Yep.
But again, you can miss a COG, for whatever reason. And go just to IRTPO.
Just one meeting in a day qualifies you for the.
Right.
Hey, but you go to as many as you want.
More than one, still 30.
You guys are approving per diem, you're not approving the meeting itself. You can go to a meeting, not get a per diem. So the other one is WIPA, WPPA, that's our Washington Public Ports Association.
Okay,
Oh, and COG and IRTPO are both monthly.
Yes.
Yeah.
WIPA is typically quarterly,
Really?
depending on which committee you're on.
Yeah.
I don't know what the broadband is, actually.
Oh, that's right. I was going
They're
to,
four
they had a
days.
subcommittee,
They're subcommittees, but-
broadband meetings that they were having that I never got paid for.
So you have PWB, called the Public Works Board. They rarely have meetings. It's really when
That's
something,
related to broadband public works?
that's where all our funding comes from.
I see.
Oh, yeah, that's where we got our $4.8 million.
But they also do like electricity and water systems and stuff too, right? Or,
I'm not quite sure all the other things they do. I only associate them with broadband.
okay,
And the other one is the Washington State Broadband Office. Again, these meetings could be once a quarter, once every 4 months. It just depends if something is big is coming up, like with BEAD. They were calling meetings for that.
Washington Broadband.
Washington State Broadband.
Wisbo,
Wisbo.
Washington State Broadband Office.
And are you going to all of these meetings?
No, because I pick and choose. I don't have the time. So I will pick and choose to say, okay, what's the subject of this? Like the bead. I needed to know what bead was about, but I'm not attending all these bead because I'm in a project area trying to build a project. It would be people that think there are homes in my project area that aren't being served by this project. So I don't go to those. So I pick and choose, just
Yeah.
like I'm sure John.
You look at
does.
the agenda.
Look at
you're
the
like,
agenda.
"This doesn't really affect me, I'm not gonna go."
I'm not gonna waste my
And
time.
Mary Ann, at today's meeting, and this discussion of deed, even the county commissioners didn't know what the acronym stood for.
Yeah.
Because it's just one of those weird off the wall broadband equity AD, it's like,
And so those are basically, you'll have one-offs from the Department of Commerce and things like that. You're gonna have trainings from the MRSC, maybe one of you commissioners want to go to a training that the MRSC is putting on, or you guys, those are usually announced a month ahead of time, you can get them approved. But those are the major ones, John, that I'm thinking right now, right?
at the same time, I attended two NOAANet meetings because,
One-offs though, right?
yeah,
Those are one-offs, yeah,
well, didn't know at the time.
yeah.
Because Gina kind of heads up the,
Department of Commerce,
is she Department of Commerce? She's the, ED up at, Bellingham. She's kind
Oh,
of been
no.
the chair.
yeah.
She's the chair of our broadband
Yeah.
meeting. I would get an email and she'd say, well, no one that's gonna have a meeting about broadband. You might want to attend that. And sure enough, those suckers, their meeting was about how to buddy up to ports to get them back into the loop of not being left behind in building broadband. Because all of a sudden, NOAANet used to be the only game in the state building broadband for years. And all of a sudden, here's all these
Besides
little ports
ASP,
doing it.
yeah. So those could be one of those meetings that, you get all of a sudden and you attend and
And I can't pre-tell you because,
that's right. So you
Just out of
show
the
up to
blue.
the next meeting, you say, here's my report on knowing that. I'd like to get it per diem and you guys vote. But this is the core list that,
So,
listen.
am I right in, interpreting what you've said as if we approve attendance at a meeting in perpetuity, so to speak, we want you to go to these meetings that happen when they happen.
Right.
Okay? And if the commissioner has attended one of those, but it turns out there's nothing useful in it, we are hoping at least that the commissioner would not put down that meeting on his payroll sheet, his activity sheet. Or do you think his time is still worth it, even if he has nothing of use to
That's an
bring back?
interesting question. It's like if you go to a fruitless meeting, should you, I mean, it's still work to go to a fruitless meeting.
Well,
But should you build it
it's-
for it?
It's work, but does it serve the port?
No,
Or is it a
but you
duty?
didn't know that until after you went.
But
So it's like if we're
does it-
asking someone to go to a
Does the
meeting.
timing matter? You see, I'm concerned that going forward,
Yeah,
what we set,
well, the way I see
And I
it is,
disagree.
this
We
is
can
something
set,
that can be reviewed. and
hardcore
changed.
resolution today and you can get rid of it just like we got. rid of the
Right,
resolution.
we can,
oh, I know
we can
that.
try to go through this like quarterly if we want to, and,
I'm just wondering how it would work,
yeah.
since they're approved in advance, but the commissioner submits their own activity sheet, which if they've gone to the meeting, I assume you would approve the activity sheet, your signature. is-
Only approve the accuracy and the validity of the document. I don't approve any meetings or anything like that. That's not my job.
Or to disapprove.
Or to disapprove me. Yeah, that's not my job.
No, I understand
Yeah,
that.
I think you guys you have a list here. And until Martin or you, Mary Ann, come up with your meetings that you want to attend, you should probably go through that list and see which ones you want to approve.
Are there any on here that you found you don't think you are gonna need to go to anymore?
You know, well, hopefully, you know, no one that shows up again, and, you know,
Oh,
big
okay.
fat no on that one.
Okay, I'll write
But
that.
that's not a consistent meeting and organization, though. It's just one of those important meetings that popped up.
Well,
that
you
we all-
never know. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
just,
We don't, but
you know, Gina could, you know, come and say, hey, they're gonna make another run at getting, you know, in bed with the ports.
And
Yeah.
maybe if Chris is also gonna go to some of these meetings, do you think it's, you know, would be okay if you didn't attend that same meeting? If there's something relevant to the port, is it helpful to have both of you there? I'm just asking.
well, we many times are on the same meeting, but this is a commissioner discussion, right? So, I mean, if John says, hey, look, you gonna go? Yeah, I'm gonna go. Okay, I'm gonna back him. That's totally cool,
Yeah,
you know, but he's also, you know, John's also, you know, filling his educational cup too. On a
right.
project that he's born
Staying.
for 7 years in counting. So, you know,
Yeah, and I think in terms of just, I hear what Mary Ann's saying. At the same time, I'm looking for, when I'm no longer a commissioner here. You know, do we wanna give the impression that a person cannot become self-educated, take time away from their family, time away from their business, and not be compensated for that, at the same time becoming a better commissioner?
Hmm.
You presented as, you know, specific, you know, how does this benefit the port kind of today kind of, you know, approach to slicing that loaf of bread? And I slice it as, you know, how do you enrich your knowledge and relationships?
Yes.
And
relationships are
relationships.
important.
I gotta tell you, by going to the Port of Skagit meeting
Mhm,
time after time, driving up there,
mhm,
not getting mileage, not getting a meeting,
mhm.
you know. And all of a sudden, when it came time to get our money from the curb, we walked out and, Joe, the ED of the Port of Quitman County, you know, said, okay, you're gonna be hounded by all the consultants. Forget them.
Oh, that was good advice.
Yes, deal with Port of Skagit.
Mhm,
And
that's
they
good
did our
advice.
study for us. We actually got a refund on the grant. You know, that they didn't use it all.
Oh,
So
that
it was
was very
building
important.
relationship
Very
outside of the county.
Mhm. Yeah,
So,
so it's kind of an investment in.
yeah,
work that might not pay off immediately.
right.
Yes.
It's the politics of being in ports.
I just
meeting
wish,
people.
I was more confident that all of the good work that's going on now will continue. Because I know it's dependent on the IDD funding. I just know it
And the
is.
second IDD.
And we can reassess, I mean, it only takes
Yeah,
one meeting to
we-
reassess all these
we
things
just
and
gotta-
strike them all down. So
We've
we
just,
can adjust quick if we need to. The
well,
IDD's here for years.
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean,
great. I'm not gonna go to meetings, physically, I'm not going to meetings. But I understand that there can be some very dull meetings and a gold mine or a chunk of gold
other times.
hiding somewhere that you would not find if you were not there. I understand that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
Well,
understand.
okay, I think I can come in the middle between there. I don't think you guys are that. But, I think it would be good to, if you claim a per diem for a meeting, that you give a report in the following, or when, at some point in the future, in a open public meeting about what happened in the meeting, that even if there was nothing relevant to the report, just say that out loud, and
Yeah.
then we'll know, because I'd like to know more about what's going on.
Mm.
That's education for me, that comes from that same dollars that you got from the port, then I can learn something as well. So does that seem reasonable, that when you go to, like, every month, it can be on the agenda, or?
And I think the sequence has gotta be that a commissioner, you know, and you'll be gone one of these days, I'll be gone one of these days, so I always wanna think in terms of the next batch,
Mhm.
okay?
Oh, yeah, I know what.
You know, we want them to feel like, you know, they were attracting people that says, I don't know crap about running and being involved with a port,
Yeah,
but I can, you know, and educate myself,
yeah,
okay? Cause I've seen, you know, the current port, because, you know, the only reason, you know, to me, that we don't have more money, that we didn't have the IDD money, is we had too many hand chair warmers. They were willing to show up, collect their per diem for attending a port meeting. Never, you know, bring anything to the table, just sit there and nod their head, you know, vote on this, you know, an item or two and then go home. We had too many of those. We had too many that were chicken about pushing the envelope with the taxpayers to say, you know, we don't have very many people, in my opinion. Maybe they're out there, but I'm not seeing and hearing them that they really know all about ports. They know about our purpose. They know about how we can do things for the community. That they're too uninformed ports, WPPA ports. You know, we had one port commissioner deny that the Port of Coupeville was a WPPA port. Even though we pay money to WPPA to belong there. So I'm just saying, you know, we got a lot of opportunity.
Hey, John, you've given your opinion of why that port got in all the trouble it's in with the commissioners not doing their job.
Right,
I want to just throw in my observations of the port over the years and those commissioners.
yeah,
It is my, looking at all of the information over the years, I would say that the Port of Coupeville has never been run as a business.
right,
It has always been run as a nonprofit. Things have just happened
I agree,
because that's what the commissioners were used to,
right,
and they didn't have any input. Business is so different from a 501c3.
Yep.
But when the management group took over, things started to happen. They were a private 501c3, a private nonprofit. The Coupeville management group
yeah,
was a nonprofit organization that got paid by the port. Instead of them paying to rent the port paid them.
right,
And
It
took
was
their lease
cool.
money,
Hmm?
and took the lease revenues.
Right,
yeah,
the lease revenue, which kept going up and up. The money should have been going the other way.
Yeah.
If it was a business, you rent your facility, you don't pay somebody to use it.
Right.
So we're stuck with that now.
no,
We're
That's
stuck.
been over for like 10 years.
Hmm?
That's been over for almost 10 years now. hasn't
But
it? How are we stuck with it?
okay,
What do you mean?
is the port run as a business now?
Yeah,
more,
that's
More?
how I run it.
yeah,
Yes.
That's my whole background.
Would you say that it is a competitive business with?
and when do you think we started being run like a business?
I would say in the first 90 days when I had to get that.
Let's say it started in
Yeah.
2016,
Yeah, and you and William came on and. Yeah,
and myself,
And
that's
there's
what I said,
still,
you and William came on.
and
Yeah.
there's still things to improve.
But you understand is that this is not, you can run it and manage it like a private business, but your revenue streams are very fixed and up to somebody else, right? So
Yeah.
until we either get a levy lid lift or we expand the port's boundaries, we've had to be extremely creative in gathering and building our investment savings account to get grants.
Mhm.
We were, 300 some odd thousand to our name. Now we have over 700,000. We have millions in IDD.
We're making progress.
Well, we're about 65% through the process of completely rehabilitating our two prized historic assets.
That's fabulous.
So anyways, back onto this,
Back to this,
what's,
go for it, Martin, just go for
Okay.
it.
make a motion.
Are you, would you continue to go to all of these
no,
meetings? No.
no,
Can,
Would you like
can
to
he,
strike any of these from the record?
can you cross out the ones you don't wanna go to, can you? Let's get this list made.
well, right now, I'm kind of assigned to COG, you know, I'd love to give that one off to somebody.
Uh-huh,
And that would also mean IRTPO would go with it,
I see.
but you know, so I've got those, but I'm not gonna make
But
any money.
who's going yet? We're just gonna say they're approved meetings, how about that?
Yeah,
Not to a person,
Right. Just approve of this.
Just we're gonna say that
Where's,
if somebody goes, they get paid.
So those two, Island County BAT and Washington State Broadband Office.
Okay,
Okay. And I would like to be pre-assigned that I can go to that for a per diem.
Yeah, and the bat is about quarterly,
Yeah.
and how often does the broadband office meet?
Once a month, maybe.
Every other month?
No, the broadband office, not even once a month. You're talking once a quarter, but they'll only put something out if something major's coming down the pipe.
So you're talking about maybe one per diem a month. Some
Yeah.
months might have two, but on average.
in addition to our meetings.
Yeah,
And workshop. We need to keep educating ourselves.
if we have workshops, those are
That's an extra
automatically
meeting.
approved, yeah.
You guys should have MRSC and WIPA workshops.
Yeah. So,
You guys want to
Okay.
go to trainings and
I'm
and
comfortable about that list of this 4 meetings,
there's only two I want to go.
and 2 of them that are approved that you'd rather not go to.
Yeah,
you'd want to go to,
no, I want to share the bit of the pleasure.
Okay.
isn't there 4 that do the WIPA conferences? MRSC,
You know, I'm a little bit like Mary Ann, that I don't see myself driving all the way out to.
no, if there's trainings, like an MRSC training by commission, a new commissioner training or something like that. You want to do something like that as a board?
I think we
was looking
should
at
spread the
WIPA
wealth.
WIPA conference in the Lake Chelan in the fall, I was thinking of going, but I can ask in advance and that would be fine as well. Doesn't have to
You
be
can take care of
pre-approved.
it till now.
Yeah, and the thing you have to realize about WIPA meetings, they have them in resort areas, not inexpensive rooms.
Mhm.
But they get a discounted rate on rooms, but only a certain number. And if you blink 2 days and
It's over.
don't
Yeah,
sign up for it, you get stuck with a $400 a night room as opposed to $150 a night room.
Okay.
But
And
isn't
so
that,
that's why waiting for a meeting to get approval
I see.
well,
is,
doesn't the port reimburse?
yeah, but do you want to have the port reimburse 400,
No.
and I can reimburse 150?
I'm just clarifying that the port reimburses expenses.
Travel expenses, actual travel expenses are more than the per diem than you.
Yeah, you would
Yeah,
get
yeah,
per diem on that and you do
Yeah.
your actual expenses.
I see,
And when I've attended those meetings, I haven't gotten a per diem because
right,
I've been doing my expenses.
Right, that's what I do too, yeah. I'm just saying that's why I put the 4 with conferences and MRSC.
Yeah.
MRSC, you probably haven't done any.
I mean, there's a lot of WIPA conferences and MRSC conferences, so it's kind of up to the commissioner to decide if I wanted to go to all the future.
I
MRSC
think a
conferences,
different approach might be is like a limit of 2. That your choice is sort of like, you kind of say, this interests me.
No, any more than a certain number per quarter or something,
Right.
and you'd need to get it approved in it.
Pre-approved, which is not always possible because sometimes they just show up,
Yeah,
and again, whatever reason, you either need to jump on it. Some of them, I think, Chris, do have like little fees, like $45 to attend this kind of meeting, and I think some of them actually have
Yeah.
some little.
Yeah, some of the third-party vendor ones that are sponsored by MRSC, Mary's gone to a lot of those on. Most of them have been free, but there's been a couple, but typically those are worth it.
So are you hearing that we are meeting sort of in the middle or not even, actually kind of?
Well, I think this list is good and I think that your selection is good. I got no problem with it.
The other thing you saw is, again, I do my car reports quarterly,
I understand that too.
and I think that's what kind of, got your eyes wide. about
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Yeah, but I've
similar,
always done it quarterly.
similar to seeing 2 or 3 employees on one line, it
Yeah.
looks like somebody's making a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's spread out over a quarter.
Of course.
Yes.
Or is that, and
And
that's
sport
something
meetings,
that,
that was sport meetings.
Mhm.
it's something that provides you a lot of convenience to do it quarterly and you rather not do it monthly.
Well, I don't know. I'm needing to figure here, I got a note. I need to figure out, how this new car form and salary. Cause I'm hearing that, you even have to report your salary. Is that what I'm hearing?
In order to get paid the salary, you have to have a signature. So what you're doing is just putting down on your car report, if you're just still do it quarterly, you would just put January, February, March, 2024 salary.
Okay.
Put down your monthly salary amount for each one and you're done.
I noticed David did take his salary from.
He did.
Last year.
He did,
Did he fill out a form?
absolutely.
Okay,
And he had to sign it and I had to look over it and it has my signature and it's in the, probably. in
Like
the
a
queue.
regular,
It's like a regular, yeah.
okay,
Now, I haven't heard back from Commissioner Callahan. We're getting off topic, but I have not heard back from Callahan yet.
so. Are you to make a motion on this or?
I'm fine with your reports being quarterly, but I know Mary Ann would
Oh,
probably
I
prefer
just-
it, but I don't, it doesn't.
I don't tell anybody how to do the business, I just wanted to discuss it. I just
Okay,
wanted to know.
it's been discussed. Okay, so I would make a motion that we pre-approve commissioner attendance to the Island County Broadband Action Team, the Council of Governments, the IRTPO, the Washington State Broadband Office, as well as WPPA trainings and conferences and MRSC trainings and conferences at commissioner's discretion.
Good motion.
Second,
Discussion.
so why not USDA? Cause that's the big bank, the federal
He's
bank,
working on it.
I have a meeting coming up with USDA. I'm not planning on
yeah,
Plan-
is he,
planning
yeah,
a per diem. It's the in-person meeting with Price Johnson.
right? But they do have meetings,
WSDA,
yeah,
sure. Probably. They have training. There's all kinds of things.
But you're still looking into whether that's something you're gonna do.
Yeah, I don't have anything. I mean, I go to some of those, but I don't plan to claim them for per diems.
okay,
I do have a question.
Mhm.
These are the ones that are approved now in advance for the future. Can we still approve individual things that come up that aren't on that list? If something comes and somebody says, well, there's a something coming up.
Yeah.
That's all.
Absolutely.
I went to this great meeting and I didn't have a chance to tell you about it.
Yeah.
Could we approve it at that point?
after the fact,
Absolutely.
Before
If you want.
We will stay flexible.
you could go to the
we only
meeting.
meet twice a month.
Well-
If something comes up between meetings, and you gotta sign up for
You
it.
know, it's possible you might go to it and not get a per diem if the other commissioners didn't. You can't convince them that it was a good idea.
Okay,
So we remain flexible.
Yeah.
okay,
I got no problem.
and call the motion.
Call vote.
As all in favor,
Aye.
I will abstain. Don't need my vote.
Okay. Back to the agenda.
That doesn't mean I'm against it, it just means it's going fast for me. We'll see how it goes. I'm not against it.
We're, we liked the lists.
Yes, it sounds good.
Motion approved.
I'd like to see something that isn't always unanimous.
Yeah. Do you wanna move us on from the agenda, President?
Beg your pardon?
Would you like to direct us to the next?
I sure would. Commissioner workshop topics, sounds real similar to what we just did. You had your list of commissioner workshop topics, and we talked about that last time. And we talked about it a lot. And I remember that what I don't know if it was you, Martin, or me, said that picking a topic from a list wasn't the way we would choose to do it. We would choose to do it if a commissioner had prepared something that he thought or she thought was important enough to call a special meeting to discuss. And I don't know how John stands on that, and I don't know if you still
No,
feel that way.
I agree with that.
I feel that way, that selecting topics in advance doesn't make sense to me. Unless it would have to be a particular topic brought to the board for a workshop
Yes,
that has more to it than a title.
agreed. What do you think?
So,
Because a lot of these ideas can come up in a meeting. They don't need a workshop.
so. If I said to both of you. Do you understand the RCW for executive sessions completely?
I've skimmed it, but no.
Do you understand the rules that apply to executive sessions, what can and cannot be done with an executive
Yes.
session?
I do.
Okay. So we got 1 out of 3 that would kind of go, yeah, it might be useful to have a workshop about executive sessions,
I'm sure there's something I could learn that I wouldn't have
right?
already known.
The budgeting process. You know, I guess we kind of could be discussed or pre-informed about the whole process of, you know, that kind of creeps into financials that we covered, but financials is different than budgeting, right?
So your executive session idea, how would that workshop be run? Would you be presenting the law to us to learn,
It's
or
not
would you
so
bring
much
in a
the law.
lawyer or something, or?
Law that we just kind of like,
Would we read through it
we go
together?
into budgeting, you know, kind of pre-knowing how we're going to spend that money, get that money, do things like that.
No, I mean, for the first topic you brought up was
Oh, the
the
executive
law about executive sessions. Yeah, like if
Yeah,
we want to
just
have a
print-
workshop on
Print
that,
it, you know, print it out and
Yeah.
just, you know, go through it word by word. So
like
that
you would read it and we would listen and we'd ask
no,
questions.
you read it before the meeting, you know, hopefully, or during the meeting,
And then what would happen during the meeting?
you know, that we would then make sure we all understand and agree. You know, we don't have anybody going rogue saying, well, I wanna have an executive session or, you know, and cover such and such, and you're like, yeah, that's not one of the legit reasons for having an
Yeah.
executive session.
Yeah, I
Wouldn't
kind
that
of
be an
see that
agenda
as
item?
our responsibility to
Know the
know the
RC.
law. Yeah, if an
Yeah.
executive session comes up and someone proposes one for something that's not illegal, hopefully one of us would
Catch it,
catch it and
Yeah.
say that we can't have that.
yeah,
That's typically what happens is when an executive session is requested for the agenda and I build the agenda, I look up and make sure the RCW support that.
Right.
It's pretty clear.
It's pretty
Yeah,
good.
there's a long list. I don't have them all memorized.
Yes, but
In there.
it's clear, and
okay,
I don't think it would take a whole meeting.
Yeah,
If it was an issue, it could be an agenda item at a regular meeting.
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I guess, are you getting what we're, the theme that we're, Marianne and I are kind of.
No more meetings than necessary.
Yeah, like, I'm not opposed to having workshops, but I'd like to like bring in an expert, or it's something that we really want to build a lot of knowledge and spend an hour or 2 hours on.
Or we-
training that really helps all of us. and helps the
Or
board.
we've discussed something at a regular meeting that we really have different opinions about.
Yeah.
That each of us needs time to prepare our position. That might take a workshop, because each of us might want to have the time to make a presentation of our view of the issue. But that's, you know, wait and see kind of thing. Let's say one of us wants to build an Olympic pool in the farm here. Because we know a kid that really wants to be a swimmer, and he needs a big pool to do it. And we've done all the research, and the other two of you say that's a cool idea. We've never had it. But that might be an issue, as crazy as it sounds now, that would be worthy of a workshop, because I would have my experts and you would have yours, and you'd have an accountant. You'd have an accountant to show that we can't afford it, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
If we thought it would take too long and disrupt a regular meeting.
Or affordable housing,
Right.
that'd be an interesting workshop, right?
If you want to propose something about affordable housing, then I think
Well,
it sounds interesting.
Or we could decide
But-
at a meeting that it wasn't something we wanted to pursue at this time.
Or the,
Either way,
or the big one is expanding the port district boundary.
Sure.
yeah. But I don't, let's just stick on the workshop topic for now. That would be one
Are
in the
these-
future.
I mean,
that one's kind of hard to discuss during a regular meeting.
Yeah.
If it's gonna take a while,
It's what,
if it would take too long, you mean, that's
Yeah.
why it would.
yeah,
Yes, anything that would be,
and that would be one that we could bring in experts,
Mhm.
partners. The other thing I can't stress enough,
Mhm.
you know, you're not building relationship with Allen County commissioners and mayors,
Mhm.
Yeah,
chamber people,
Mhm.
you know. When you get ready to ask for help, they're gonna say, who the hell are you?
yeah, no. Think if you wanna propose that, educate the other two commissioners about the topic that is important to you and bring in some experts, then I
And
think that would be appropriate.
yeah, that I think is important to the port.
Mm.
Or, sure, yeah, that you think is
Yeah.
important to the point, yeah,
And if it's important to the port, then it's important to me,
yeah,
because, you know, I want my legacy, if you will,
yeah.
is that,
Right, and we pay you a salary to be a commissioner.
Yeah, that's what I meant, important to you on behalf of the port.
Right.
Yeah,
but at the same time, it's, where my head with this, you know, some things take too long to do during a meeting,
Mm-hmm.
and you probably do need to bring in external partners to kind of talk to about their involvement.
Right, when I look at the, announcements in the paper for other governments that have special meetings, they always have a particular topic
Yeah.
that is clearly needs a special meeting because it's clearly a big idea.
Mhm.
And so I think we're on the right track, and I think perhaps we don't need to go through the rest of John's
No,
list.
no,
I think we've agreed that when it's a big idea, it's something we would decide at a meeting that we need a workshop for.
so. That also means orchestrating with the people that are gonna hold our hand during that meeting.
Yeah, it's really an intense training or problem solving exercise, really is what a workshop should be. It's single
Well,
topic
that's what it
focused.
was with the financials.
Yeah.
It was really an educational thing because we didn't understand it nearly as much as we do now.
Sure. If you look at the whole IDD, which John was responsible
Mm.
for with
Yes.
his networking, we
Yes.
never called a workshop for that. We had professionals online. I managed it through a consultant and we did everything through open.
Yeah,
public
some ideas don't need it.
They don't need it, but some do. You
If
know,
the-
expansion needs it.
If the board agrees that it's needed, it moves forward through you and
Yeah.
through others. And we don't need to spend our time on it because we're not qualified anyway. We just know what we wanna do.
Okay. Okay, so I think we move on from that discussion for now, then.
Yeah, I think so.
Is that gonna be on the agenda next week, or is that, we wrapping up that?
It's up to you guys.
Well,
We just-
That you really want to pursue.
Yeah, that's my impression. If you'd like to pursue expansion of the port boundaries.
well, I think, you know, we've kind of semi-targeted two areas that might need a workshop. District expansion, potentially.
We're just in the middle of so much other stuff. To take on at this time, a topic so dramatic as trying to expand the physical boundaries of the port, which is a huge change and a huge job.
And
I don't think this is the right time to put that down yet. I'd like to keep it in mind, but not in 2024.
my
We don't,
counter to that is you don't start now on the first
uh,
step.
you
It
can,
takes 5 years to pull it off,
that,
potentially. So there's
I-
a counter to that. I'm just saying, I understand what
Right.
you're saying.
because,
So if you do this, how about we say,
but
we
I,
get all our immediate IDD projects completed, I mean, you know,
right, right.
then what are we gonna talk
And
about?
then you have a commissioner sitting right here who says to first go to expansion of the boundaries when you have not given port taxpayers that exist now, the voters here, the chance to maintain their own ownership by a levy lid lift. You haven't even given, all of a sudden, you're gonna take it away from Central Whitby and give it to the whole big. That doesn't make sense to me without, and you see, you've got
Maybe
some.
this could be
opposition.
an agenda item to discuss first before it goes to a workshop level.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Get
Yeah.
the ball rolling. I hear what you're saying. You wanna start dredging 5 years from now, you start today.
Mhm.
So this sounds to me like an agenda item that you guys can do under discussion heading.
I would, because I think
And
it's too
then
soon.
Yeah, I think you guys, maybe it's up to me. I guess.
I think it's, I think we've got so much other stuff to deal with right now. That trying to think about that visionary picture of a huge, huge port that we can convince voters to give money to the port, which has a terrible reputation. People in North Whitby are not paying attention.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot harder if someone's really sandbagging the whole process, and one of the commissioners is absolutely against it.
yeah,
It's
but I
gonna be
mean,
a struggle.
It may come to that, but I think it's not the first step. I think the first step is a levy lid lift attempt. That is a big job as well. There was an attempt in 2018.
no, 2008, 08.
No, I'm talking about the one in 2018 where it was on the table in the agenda. And then it was pulled, it was not done.
Planning on it.
It was not done. You got emails from the Chamber of Commerce that said, wait a minute, you haven't done any preliminary work on this. It'll never pass.
And
it never went- It never went past the board.
Okay.
The board voted to put it on the ballot, but they didn't do it.
Yeah.
They didn't do it because they got told, you can't just slap that on
Yeah,
So how does the preliminary work?
none of the preliminary work was done.
But how
Just,
would that,
this is not on the agenda, but you guys are. You guys are talking about a specific thing. This is not-
whether it should be a topic?
I thought you guys were past 8.3, but okay.
No, we're on
I misunderstood.
We're on it.
you're both right.
I like that.
You know, I think, from a workshop topic standpoint, the having a workshop that would be talking about how to solidify the long-term existence of the Port of
Oh, that's
Coupeville,
good. That's
the
good.
long-term existence.
That's
And
good.
one of the solutions is
Yes. And then
expanding the district.
yeah, what are the choices?
Different possibilities.
Yes, it's a much bigger topic now and brings in more information that needs to be considered before any one of the options is picked.
So we have kind of identified a workshop topic. How to improve the long-term assistance of the Port of Coupeville.
Yes.
Here's my read on this.
I think we should,
1967. 3 county commissioners said, we need a port in Central Whitby. Oh, there's like 5,000 people live in Central Whitby. They can financially, stand behind outlying field, being a public airport.
no,
Guess what? That was
None
too
of that
small a
happened.
port.
Yeah,
it was fine when they only owed the wharf. It was
They didn't
fine.
own the wharf till after they were created.
But when that port bought the wharf, they put a levy in that seemed a lot of money at the time, because all they had to do was maintain the port.
Yeah.
The wharf,
so
what?
we're back in the 60s here. Do we, are you guys ready to propose that
I'm not,
we have a workshop for that?
no, I'm not. I think it's too soon. I think we each need to
Just
think about it.
Think about, kick that can down the road, you
And I
know,
don't think it needs to be on the agenda each time. I think any time you can, at the beginning of a meeting, you can say, I'd like to add something to the agenda. I wanna propose a topic for a workshop.
Have you ever seen this document?
Yes, read it many times.
I don't think so. Two
It's
thousand
online.
nine, okay,
Yeah,
history of the.
Right.
everything we're dealing with, fuel problems, pilings, floating off and like that.
Mhm,
They
It's
were,
online.
they were problems a long time ago.
okay,
Yeah. And, so this is my only copy.
okay,
I can loan it to you.
okay,
Okay.
I'll take them.
You said you've already seen it?
Oh, I read it online. I got it saved online.
So, okay.
Okay, so that's
Oh.
interesting discussion, and we're gonna, maybe in the future, someone will propose a workshop topic.
Hmm,
Yep, there we go.
that
And
sounds
we're
good.
not gonna keep discussion of workshop topics every
I
week
think-
or every twice. a week.
We talked about that a lot.
I think we got to
I have to-
consensus on how to propose a workshop,
Yeah,
whether we'll do.
and that's important.
Yeah.
And I'm working on it. Good.
Okay,
Well, new business has only one item and, I got the email that said that the letter of support for the airport runway widening idea came from you, Commissioner Masashi.
It actually came from Don Meehan, that, he's a pilot. And, but he kind of, helps, De Laurentiis, with operational issues.
Mm-hmm.
So he had sent an email. Did he send it to all of us?
Don
No, I've never
Meehan?
seen it.
Who sent the email?
I didn't see it.
Who,
Huh?
where did this come from?
He's a pilot that
Yeah,
flies.
I know who he is. I know him.
So he said that he wanted help on permitting with the Island County. And he was reaching out to see if he could get like a letter of support from, the Port of Coupeville to the Island County Commissioners and the permitting people, to move the, process along to widen the runway.
I know that's an issue there. Did De Laurentiis co-sign this?
No,
He's the one applying for the permit. He owns the airport.
I know that.
but he didn't send the email.
No,
I'm talking about the source of the request for the letter of
It's from
support.
Don Meehan.
Well, I don't believe that, oh, go ahead.
So,
You have
so
more to say?
I called him up and I said, so where's the money coming from? He says, yeah, De Laurentiis is gonna put the money into widening it. I said, okay. Hung up the phone, a couple days went by and said, okay, what's the unintended consequences of, a letter from the port?
Hmm,
So then I said, so that land, is there any issues relative to the land? Because remember the lady that assigned her, what was her name again?
that
Give it
woman.
my
was just-
she owned, Jerry, thank you. She owned the property
North of the
North of
runway.
the runway
And I
that,
think there was some discussion about if there's gonna be any widening. That ownership of that land might need to be rolled into the airport property.
and it was also about further housing development
Okay,
in in her property as well. There's also wetland out there too. That wasn't a part of the issue, but yeah, Jerry, thank you.
yeah,
And I don't know what happened. I don't know if Jerry and that other partner sold De Laurentiis the land yet or not. I don't know.
so I said to Don, he said, well, I'm not gonna draft a letter number one, it needs to be, if it's gonna be the Port of Coupeville. Then, it needs to be on the agenda to be discussed. So, to me, it's one of those things that could be perceived, politically speaking, as a favorable thing to do that costs nothing except, the email letter saying that Port of Coupeville supports the expansion of the runway project, permit in front of the county, period, kind of deal.
Yeah, I guess I don't have all the issues. Why can't they just get the permit? Why do they need a letter of support to get a permit? Are they asking for something that
Well,
isn't normally allowed or?
it concerns me that it's not the owner of the airport involved in this discussion with you, or whoever Don Meehan. Whatever a wonderful person Don Meehan is, and what a wonderful extension agent he was, and what a wonderful pilot he was. He's not the airport owner,
Right.
and the port of Coupeville is finished with the airport, and I would prefer that we just didn't get involved.
Okay.
I don't see,
And I appreciate that, because I mean, I share some concerns.
I don't think it's appropriate at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I think, yeah, it's not within our district boundaries.
The whole thing is over.
Something for the board to consider, this is a private individual on private land asking for port's support. That opens up the door for every homeowner, every business owner that's private to come to the port to get a letter of support
I
to get a
mean,
permit.
airports are kind of
It's transportation.
within the
There's a
port,
connection.
like, there's a connection there.
But it's still a private business.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, like if someone with a marina wanted a letter of support from the port, it's like, yeah, we'll consider it if it benefits the port. I'll consider it if
Yeah.
it benefits the port,
And
but I don't have enough information about why they need this letter. What is the permit they're asking for? And what are we dealing with the actual principal on this, in this negotiation, the person that's involved in applying for this permit and knows all the issues. So I need a little more background information. before
Yeah.
I would.
and I'm perfectly willing to take a call from Meehan and say, how did it go with the meeting? You had it on the agenda. And said, you know, hey, it'd been better if Mr. De Laurentiis had approached us for our help.
Oh, no, don't tell him, don't give him hints, just say it wasn't appropriate. Don't tell him what to do, please. Please don't tell him what to do. De Laurentiis knows what he's doing, trust me. He knows what he's doing, and he's dealing with Don Meehan. And I don't think you need to give him any hint that if he would do it different, he would get what he wanted. I don't think that's appropriate.
Okay.
I don't really know what he wants, like
Letters, you know.
but support what? What do we support? That the runway
they
is
move on
wide?
the permitting faster or something.
Yeah, or something, like we need more information before we support or something.
It's just not appropriate for the port to write a letter of support.
If it
as
was for a
persons
grant, or like they're asking for funding to do something that everybody wants to happen, then I could see getting on that. But if it's trying to expedite some process that we don't really know, and there may be some conflict that we're not aware of, then I feel
It's
like
just
that
not
could be,
appropriate.
I think it could be appropriate if. Can I have an
Yeah,
opinion?
yeah, sure. I'm sorry.
It could be appropriate because it's an airport and we're a port and we handle port type situations. And if we can all be informed about the situation and agree that this would be a good thing that would benefit the residents of the Port of Coupeville through increased business and commerce, then maybe it would be appropriate.
Yeah.
I have received emails already asking for support, but the same email didn't just go to my business or to my water district. It went to all water districts. It was an appeal for support from a large group of
Last setting.
of governments to support this particular government's attempt at something. So if this was a request that went to the port of Coupeville and the town of Coupeville and the county and all these other places, or even to private organizations like the Front Street Merchants and all these different groups, if it was a group request that was going to benefit the airport,
Yeah.
I would see no problem in participating with a group.
Yeah.
But when it's just to the port, I don't think it's appropriate at all.
We don't know that though.
I don't know how much say we have with the county permitting office anyway.
These things, they pile them up and they say we got 17 letters of support.
Yeah.
That's right, that's how that works.
Hey, John, maybe you could ask to answer Martin's question, maybe get a copy of the permit. Because you're right, he maybe wanted to go into some wetland or some protected land and you just don't know, right? Maybe we ask for a copy of the
Yeah.
permit. I still Well, that's not-
I mean, I'm leaning towards no, I agree with Mary Ann's concerns, but I'll give it a fair shot if they can convince us that it benefits the residents.
Why do we wanna have anything more to do with the airport? That, if you knew what people were saying about the previous board and their activities with the airport, you would just say goodbye to the whole thing and move forward in all the projects we had that are for, that make sense. To go back, that's going back into a place that I don't think the show should go. It's just not a comfortable place to be.
Duly noted.
Can we just close that discussion and say there
For
were?
now, for sure.
Yeah,
Okay,
no vote on that.
all right, well, we're back to public comment then, if there is any. Do we have anybody online who would like to make a comment?
So like the telephone there.
If you're on a Zoom call, you'd like to make a public comment, please unmute or raise your hand, please. Going once. Going twice, no public comment.
Well, then, the meeting is finished at 2:26 p.m. And it was another good one.
That was good.